Doom vivamos vivamos Epicureans. This is the BCE Comics Pod, one-shot edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith. I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
Doing well. Re-emphasize BCE Comics Pod. We changed our name to, better differentiate us from Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel podcast, but also to open up what we're doing a little bit. But we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel podcast reading club, and this one-shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is Uncanny X Men, number 157, Hide and Seek. All right, so the X Men are stuck... Maybe before we get into this, Stojr, happy to be back and doing this with you together instead of us just doing our own things.
You get to react. You can tell me if I didn't have anybody here to tell me my opinions were bad or wrong or to say how great they are.
I've only said that they're wrong when you're talking about Dan Slott. That's all.
There you go.
The conversation is better than just doing the individual thing. So I'm glad we were able to do that and keep up with things, but I'm much happier doing this, actually talking together.
Yeah, agree.
All right, so here we go. For this issue, the X-Men are stuck repairing the Starjammer when Lilandra finally has the brilliant idea of just sending a message to the Shi'ar fleet to prevent the destruction of Earth. Why they didn't come up with that before is beyond me. However, her message doesn't go through, so Professor X reaches out to Nightcrawler and Kitty telepathically, during which something happens and it shatters the professor's mind. Now, when receiving the message, Kitty and Nightcrawler are then able to convince the Imperial Guard that Lilandra is alive and well, but the treacherous Admiral Samadar sends his loyal guard to stop them. Well, Nightcrawler and the Imperial Guard hold them off long enough for the Starjammer to make it back to Earth and for Lilandra to take control again, thus sparing the Earth. All right, Stojr, what are your thoughts?
I'll give them some leeway in whether this is on the page or not, but that say that their communications array was damaged and they had to repair it, and that's why they didn't think about it till that point. But I'm not sure if the book will agree with me on that or not. I think that the cover is great because it evokes something that is very easily explained away, and they've been playing around with this idea of Kitty in the different costumes, and to kind of use that to scare people is a pretty smart idea. By the way, I know I said this in a previous video, but I love the corner box. The corner box is great at this era,
yep.
Especially with the X-Men coming out of the corner box. I think that just looks awesome. The story's getting a little convoluted. Like, I like the idea that there's this sort of like political kind of takeover, that you have Deathbird with this other alien race, but it just starts to feel a little bit heavy, and it starts off like collapsing under its own weight. And I think my comments about the last issue or about the next issue will be a lot of, well, as quickly as it came, it's gone, right? Like, I was really hooked for some of those early issues, and hearing your original thoughts, I know that you weren't as hooked as I was, on the first couple issues in this Epic collection. But for me, I was on board. Like, this was kind of cool. It was like space adventure. Like, it was kind of hitting all the right markers. I just feel like it's getting a little clunky. It's getting a little bit too much at this point. The idea of like having Kitty there as a Dark Phoenix kind of works for me, but the different, there's just like too many different characters. It's I'm having a hard time figuring out who's on what side and what they are, just because you have all these different Starjammers and Imperial Guard and the bad guys, the good guys, so on and so forth. So I guess that's my thought process. Like, it was getting a little bit convoluted, a little bit heavy. The other kind of thing that was a little bit silly, I think that the foreshadowing that we have here is really good, where every time Professor X is using his powers, he's kind of seeing that Brood entity in there. Like, I like that. But also, like, the silliness is like, well, I couldn't use my psychic powers across the universe before because Magneto messed up the magnetics of magnetism or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how does that work? Like, what's that have anything to do with the other, right? But anyway, otherwise, like it's a fine conclusion. I feel like if they had to end it because it was starting to go on too long. I guess is my main thought. What about you?
So, yeah, I did think things were too convoluted to start the volume, but I'm kind of into it now. I do kind of wish we had a little more background of just, why is Deathbird doing all this? And we eventually get that, but we don't have it just yet. But yeah, it is a little convoluted, but I've kind of been sucked in by now. I thought this was an excellent issue. I thought there were some really great moments for the X Men on the Starjammer. We do get finally the payoff of Kitty and Nightcrawler being left behind. They've been gone for a good issue or so, and well, now we see what they're doing. And yeah, the ploy of having Kitty dress as the Phoenix to get the attention of the Imperial Guard was clever. But that also means we get the payoff of her playing around with that costume machine all the time. It wasn't just random for giggles. It actually led to something. Although I don't know why she decides to dress as Robin Hood at the end or Green Arrow. Have your pick. It's fine. That's a little weird. I thought there was some.
It also looks like the Star Spangled outfit she has is like evoking something else too. Like feels like that was somebody's costume in the 40s or something.
Kind of Evil Knievel-esque.
Yeah, maybe that's what it's evoking.
I'm trying to find a version in the no, not with that hat. Geez, here let me pull up the comic viewer. Let's nope. Uh-oh. I might have neglected to connect the comic viewer. We just did our fanfare episode that released earlier. Well, we live streamed earlier today. Gosh, I don't even have the comic viewer on this new scene that I created. But okay, yeah, there you go. Stojr's got it for us. So yeah, with that hat, not Evil Knievel. I don't know what that is, but yeah, it's kind of biker-esque. The star in the middle kind of looks like Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah.
But
And this kind of Spider-Man-esque outfit she's got on over here, where it's got the little suction cup. Where's the fingers holes? They're in the middle. There's little like that's those outfits are kind of cool. Like the color scheme's not great, but like I feel like they're like Cochrum's having a lot of fun just kind of throwing her in different outfits here, and
Yep.
it's starting to kind of show off. I mean, I think purposely none of them are supposed to be good, but like at least from a color scheme perspective, but you can see they're like well put together.
Yeah.
They actually make sense in the context of what they are.
And we established a couple of issues ago that she's not good at putting together a good looking costume, right?
Right.
She had her Punky Brewster look for a while. Anyway, I found that fun. There's also fun allusions in here. The captain of the Shi'ar ship is Captain Kirk, which, of course, is Captain Kirk of Star Trek, right? So that's fun. Kitty mentions Doug Henning at one point when she disappears into the ship. I did some digging on this. Doug Henning was an illusionist and escape artist. He developed a magic-based musical for Broadway, which was called The Magic Show, and he earned a Tony Award for that. He also began appearing on television, including replicating Houdini's famous underwater torture escape. So he was a big name at this time of, who even is the big magician these days? For a while, there was...
I mean, it was David Blaine for a while there,
Yeah.
or something like that.
My mind always goes Penn and Teller, but I don't know if they have the superstardom of, that guy who made the Statue of Liberty disappear, whose name I can't remember. Must not have been that much of a superstar, right? Also, let's see. Blast! I don't have the comic viewer here. I'll pull it up on my copy. I want to give a shout out to Janice Chiang, the letterer, on page 81. All right. When Xavier is telepathically reaching out to Kitty and Nightcrawler, we have some unusual panels, right? You can kind of see they're not square. They're these rectangular, triangular things. My background thing is not doing a good job of catching that. Anyway, there's a large amount of text left out. Or the large amount of text left the letterer with a little bit of a conundrum of how do you fit the captions in that space. And she solves that problem by breaking up the text boxes, but using both dashes and ellipses to tell the reader in what order to follow the text. It's not natural based on location, and certainly this is not a new technique, but using the two different punctuation indicators to differentiate which box follows which, I don't see a whole lot of, so I just thought that was well done.
No, that's a good call out. And there's been, I don't know where we're reading so many different books right now concurrently. I'm not sure where this was at. Maybe it was in the Daredevil one, but there was more than once that I was not following that a page spread was supposed to go across the page
Mm-hmm.
with multiple boxes. Obviously, if it's a splash page, then that makes sense. But so I'll go zigzagging the top to bottom, and then I realize, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, I was supposed to go all the way across the double pages. So I always appreciate when letterers can do little things. And I think arrows are the easy, lazy way to do it, but hey, they work. To give that indication that you should be, going across instead of down on those things. And this is a similar situation.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it, but someone said that if you're having to use arrows to tell your reader which box to go to next, that means you've laid it out wrong. It should be obvious. Your eye should be able to read. And I agree with you. I don't remember what that is, but there was something we read recently where it was a double page spread, but it was not obvious reading this, and I got lost. Yeah. Good there. Of course, shout out to Dave Cockrum for his weird alien designs. The battle at the end between Samadar's guard and the Imperial Guard has all kinds of weird creatures, which are just fun to look at. Webwing and his attempts to slurp up Kitty. That was just weird and neat, and I enjoyed that. So, good stuff. I enjoyed this overall. All right, Stojer, any other final thoughts?
I guess final thought is, like, I had a criticism last issue of how quickly Colossus came back. I mean, he was like acid thrown on him and a spear through the heart, and then all of a sudden he's raging into battle. I guess they try and make up for that a little bit by having him collapse in this issue, but I still have some issue with the fact that he had a giant spike through his chest. And he's just fine now. Granted, he's not completely fine, but at the end of the issue, he's walking around, and he's okay. I guess I would have had less of an issue if they kept him in his armored form the entire time when he had the spike through his chest, because you could make an argument that, which is something they did during the Fatal Attractions run, which is, hey, if you stay in your armored form, we can kind of, hammer it out, heat you up, and meld you back into place so that when you transfer back into human form, you're going to be okay. That was something that happened during Fatal Attractions. But here, he was bleeding out, with a giant hole in his chest. I don't really understand that, but I guess space magic,
space medicine. Whatever. Yep. And as you guys know, watching this, we read in advance so we can record these podcasts in advance. I feel like it's still kind of touched upon several issues from now of him continuing to heal, but all right, we'll leave it there. If you guys enjoyed our thoughts, of course, follow us on YouTube, find our podcasts. We've got our link trees in the description if you want to follow us on the internet. We're going to read, rate, and review a full big collected edition every month, second Sunday of the month, and we're going to keep doing these one-shots so long as the reading club is going on. All right, thanks very much, and we'll see you again next time.